Cloud Pirates is rad. I never read anything about this game, never heard of it, never seen it, and yet its early hours have captivated in ways that I haven't experienced in a free-to-play multiplayer title in years. Combining the high health and slow movement strategy from mech games with War Thunder's accessibility and plethora of vehicles is positively inspired. You aren't locked into a role, but immediately granted multiple ships, variants, and playstyles. From the speedy and pesky Thunder dropping explosive torpedoes, to Rock's copious tanking, Victoria's healing, Vigilant sniping, and Gale's teleporting shotgun wombo combo. Whether or not this game will continue to hold in the future is a question that plagues almost all free-to-play titles, but currently it's one of the freshest experiences I've had this year. And this awesome game was found out of boredom. Browsing through Steam's library with a buddy not in the mood for a friendship-killing simulator, I saw the screenshots, we downloaded it, and proceeded to not stop playing. And this is something I hadn't done in a while. Despite having a stupidly huge gaming library, I often find myself agonizing over every intricate detail when purchasing a game. Browsing Steam reviews, double-checking feature lists, and looking into the developer's past. Doing everything in my power to assure it's a good experience, except for playing and finding out firsthand. I realized, had this same process been applied to my childhood and teen years, it's of certain fact that I wouldn't have found half of my favorite games. Mass Effect, Rainbow Six Vegas, 007 Nightfire, Payday the Heist, Red Orchestra, Saints Row 2, Burnout 3, SSX 3, they all would have remained out of sight and out of mind. But this is hardly unique. I ran a Twitter poll requesting followers to list media they loved that was found through blind luck. Out of 46 answers, 32 of them were from people's adolescence. This poll was hardly scientific, but it's indicative of how taking chances with media seems to occur when we're younger. The first reason for this is, according to the Electronic Software Association's annual report, the most influential factor into purchasing video games: price. Money's much more difficult to part with when it's our own, but particularly with the unfamiliar. Change is easier to spend on your favorite mass-market candy than local sweets. $15 film tickets aren't so bad when it has your favorite heroes. And $60 isn't as overwhelming when it's your go-to franchise. The greatest draw that can overpower this are friends, and it's no surprise that of the top 3 games currently on Steam, 3 of them are online focused and lack a full price tag. The purchase is easier in 2 of the most important regards, and related to that, that's one more factor to explain this imbalance between our child and adulthoods. Free time is far more plentiful at one age than the other, and with maturity comes caution. Working the 9 to 5 leaves only a handful of hours to dedicate to one's personal time. When a party's cut short or a restaurant doesn't satisfy, it's not just the experience itself that's frustrating. It's the knowledge that you could have done something else, something you know for 99% certainty would have been preferable. And entertainment is no different. For many, film, television, and games are only meant to entertain in the most visceral and primal ways. While there may be a small crowd who snide at the largest targets, many great works come from the most popular genres, from action and adventure in film, romance and thriller in novels, and sports and shooters in gaming. But while our caution is understandable, no one wants to waste any amount of money or time on something unengaging, it has the potential to bypass and ignore media that would have satisfied us to an equal or even greater degree. That lesson for me was Dragon Age Origins. I borrowed a 360 copy from a friend after completing Mass Effect 1 and 2 multiple times. Going in with low expectations due to its party-based D&D style combat and fantasy setting ripe with multiple been-there-done-that tropes. A made-up world being overrun by demonic creatures with elves that live in the forests and slums, dwarves in caves, and humans that are jerks. Now, I still didn't care for all of the above, but between the characters, storytelling, and depth of the world, I found myself playing through the game twice within a month. Since then, I've made an effort to always try at least a handful of games and genres I typically don't enjoy, and have since grew an appreciation for stealth games through the Splinter Cell and Thief series, Civilization and Dawn of War 2 for both real-time and turn-based strategy, Alien Isolation and Soma and horror, and many others, until I went through university and got a full-time job shortly afterward. That's when I mostly engaged in the reliable and disposable thrills of Halo, Call of Duty, and whatever popular multiplayer game was available at the time. After a while, I'd been purchasing games for videos again after being laid off and falling into this whole YouTube thing. But Cloud Pirates was the wake-up call. It brought back the memories of Dragon Age Origins, Payday the Heist, or Rainbow Six Vegas all over again. The days of finding a piece of work that I loved, based on little to no information outside of a friend's recommendation. Now, to be clear, I'm not advocating that you blow all disposable income on games blindly. Reviews exist for a reason, and we all have our tastes and preferences. I've given multiple MMOs and Diablo-esque action RPGs a try and still haven't found one that hooked. But you don't need to burn money to search for gems. With Humble Bundles, Steam sales, and online purchases, it's easy to save $20 a month and try new experiences during a lazy weekend. Though the best way to do so is with friends. In the event that Cloud Pirates was a bad game, it wouldn't have been a waste as I would have tried it with a friend. Groups can make entertainment out of anything, even the worst that media has to offer. And speaking of media, our caution as consumers isn't a one-way street. That expectation is deeply ingrained in media creation as well. It's why something as moody and dark as LA Noire featured comically absurd action scenes, because the people behind it were afraid a game without shooting potentially wouldn't sell, as a consumer may potentially think that a game without shooting would be boring. Now, acquiring games from the occasional sale isn't going to prevent that. This is purely for the enjoyment as a consumer. You rarely get to experience something great for the first time, and there's nothing quite like finding a gem in the place you'd never think to look. Ikupa Trupai asks, boxers or briefs? Commando. Are you going to analyze Mass Effect Andromeda? Yes. Next year. What do you think of Call of Duty World War II? I'm curious, which is far more than I can say for any Call of Duty game in the last 5 years. Do you put your pants on one at a time? What about shorts? The answer to that question is bottomless.